Hello and welcome everyone to a special episode of Off Chain with Jimmy Song, and we have a special guest and also somebody that's going. Tone, say hi.
Hey guys, hope everyone can hear me okay. We're trying out something new here.
Yeah, indeed we are, and we're gonna try to broadcast on both channels at the same time. Hopefully everything is working. All right. Anyway, got a lot of news this morning. We have obviously this is the price currently. It's like 8,200. It's kind of insane. We also have some mempool statistics. You can see that the traffic has abated almost completely. We're getting into the 0 to 5 Satoshi per byte territory. I mean, this is 8 days after it was like absolutely historic amounts of fees, and now it's coming down all the way, and we're eating into like really cheap fees right now. Tone, any comment on what's going on with the mempool?
No, but I mean, I like it, right? I mean, they couldn't spam the mempool forever. And, oh man, this continues to go into this like debate, right? Because people are always like mad at me and happy with me at the same time, like all the time. So I still think that the on-chain usage is incredibly small, which frustrates me because that's the platform that the big blockers are standing on. But the on-chain usage of Bitcoin is incredibly small. Now, the off-chain usage of Bitcoin seems to be pretty big. So when I say there isn't adoption, people are like, well, no, but there is adoption because look at all of the people that Coinbase is signing up and all this other stuff. Yeah, but that's centralized usage of Bitcoin. That's not what I want. That's not what I care about. That's not why I joined this space. I actually joined this space for more anonymous means of the usage of Bitcoin. So the crazy usage of Bitcoin through Coinbase isn't what interests me. And all of the adoption seems to be in the speculative realm, and that's okay. I mean, the price is going up, we're all happy, but you just have to, accept the fact that if it's all speculation can move in the opposite direction. And I don't consider myself an OG Bitcoiner, but I was around for the entire bear market of 2014. But the question is, how many people have?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, to me, this shows that it's not being utilized that much as a medium of exchange. It's much more as a store of value, and maybe. I'm kind of feeling like Luke Dash Jr. was maybe right. He was saying like the optimum block size was like 350K, and that almost everything is spam, and he's been saying that for years. So I don't know. Maybe he has a point. But anyway, so some other statistics to take a look at. This is CoinDance, and you can see that it is currently slightly more profitable on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. But that's not accounting for fees, so that might be actually quite close to parity, and we kind of expected this. But note the number of blocks. There's been 6 blocks in the last 2 hours or so, and it's just there isn't as much interest, and this is due to.
Oh, hey, Jimmy, I think like I'm looking at the live chat. Uh-huh. It seems like your volume is way too low and my volume is way too high. Maybe we can fix that. I mean, again, this is our first time trying one of these. Maybe we can, if you go to the control panel, maybe of the YouTube, we can equalize the volume.
Here, how about now? Is that better?
Let's see.
I don't know. I mean, we're not going to hear back from them for a little bit, but
yeah. So, I'll speak softer and get away from the mic.
I'll try to speak a little louder.
Because I hear you fine, but I guess it has something to do with the streams.
Yeah, it might be. And I have to figure out the setup with the microphone because it's not using the Blue Yeti. It's actually I figured out that the reverb was due to both mics being on at the same time, and one had a slight delay. But anyway. So Bitcoin Cash, there's just not that much interest. Here's a story that I found very interesting. This is, analysis of the mybtgwallet.com scam. This is Bitcoin Gold. They listed one of the wallets on their website, and it turned out that it had an exploit. And this guy went through and looked at the source code and figured out what the problem was. And if you look here, there's one very, very subtle thing here, and it's this one line that says window.gtagm document.cookie equals this thing. And essentially what it's doing is it's encoding the private key into Google Analytics, and it puts it on Google Analytics, so the scammer can go to Google Analytics, find all these like cookies, download the cookies, decrypt them into private keys, and then spend all these private keys. Very, very clever.
Beautiful.
Because there's no phone home, right? Like you're not going to some random server. It's going to Google Analytics, so it's like perfectly. It's really, really well done, actually. I have to give him props for doing it this way. But yeah, no phone home. It's just going to Google Analytics. To any browser, it looks like just normal Google Analytics traffic. So, I mean, yet another reason to use Ghostery and uBlock or something like that. But yeah, this is what it's that's how they stole a ton of money from naive people that thought they were getting their free Bitcoin Gold. Any thoughts on this story, Tone?
No, I mean, the story speaks for itself, right? I mean, this just proves that the majority of code is basically checking to make sure nothing malicious is there, and you want that to be as many people as possible, not just a tiny amount of people, which is what we're dealing with in all of these forks and all of these altcoins. No one's looking at the code.
Yeah, oftentimes that's the case. Yeah, so one thing that we wanted to talk about, that the story that just simply refuses to go away, is Bitfinex'd published another article on I think it was Friday or Thursday. It was super easy, simple Bitfinex Tether questions that Phil Potter will never answer. So here's a bunch of questions like, where does Tether bank? Under what jurisdiction? Were people who converted their BFX tokens informed that Bitfinex had banking problems? Were people, informed Wells Fargo would not handle their transactions? Why did Bitfinex wait weeks to inform customers? What proof do we have that Bitfinex was solvent on July 31st, 2016? How come Bitfinex did not complete a financial audit for 2016 as promised? And on and on and on. He has a 17 different questions. Your thoughts, Tone, on what's going on with Tether and Bitfinex and all these questions that he's asking?
Well, we're gonna try to find out, right? He has agreed to start coming on on podcasts with audio. He's gonna get like a voice descrambler and stuff, and we'll see what we get. Now, will Phil Potter come on the podcast to answer these questions? I highly doubt it. Will we ever get the CEO of that company to come on and answer them? Probably not. That seems to be elusive. I mean, the latest. People are starting to dig now. I know they don't like it. It was amazing. Bitfinex sent out this tweet. You think I can do screen share? You think that would work? Let's try that.
It might. At least try it. Your video was frozen for a little bit, but yeah.
It looks like my video is frozen now.
It's not frozen anymore. Try screen sharing. Let's see.
Okay. All right. Let's see how this goes. So here's the screen share. So you should be looking at a spec of the Bitcoin on CME, though that's not what I was going for. Let's see what people. These are all my notifications. So look, if I go to Bitfinex Twitter handle. Right. Look, they send out this tweet that has an insane amount of likes and retweets, and okay, good. Now, this is what people have been asking for a long time, and people have been asking for this way before you and I, well, mostly me, but you and I, Jimmy, got involved in this mess, right? So maybe with someone like me, actually causing some waves, Bitfinex will get around to answering people like Bitfinex'd and people like AB33 that has also put out a lot of great work that they've been digging, right? Like, look, the only reason why I'm in the middle of this mess is because people with real questions like Bitfinex did not have them answered. So eventually it comes on my radar, but now when I start talking about it, everyone has their panties in a bunch because I now have almost 60,000 Twitter followers, right? So squash this FUD, as you like to call it, before it gets to me. I'm busy enough as it is. I don't want to deal with this Tether nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, neither do I, but it's a story that just simply will not go away. And
right, but it's amazing how a tweet like this is supposed to solve everybody's problems. Because 680 people liked it.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I'm still kind of confused as to what's going on here, but
well, everyone is.
Yeah, and I think they need to answer some questions and like put people's minds at ease, because there are some people that are thinking this is WillyBot 2.0.
All right. Well, here's the latest tweet from AB33. I don't know if you've seen this one, Jimmy.
No, I have not. I haven't.
Oh, give it a second.
Okay. Huh. Really?
Right. Like, again, people are digging, and look, I don't know much about, high-end corporate structure. Maybe this is normal. I don't know. I've never been a CEO of an international company. I don't know if this is normal or not. All I know is I've never heard of this guy before this whole thing with Bitfinex and Tether started.
Yeah.
Okay. And here's another one. This one is I'm probably going to go back to my profile. This will be the last comment I'll say. Man, I don't know if that's going to be a topic here. Again, thanks to those guys, I'm seeing this. So what you have is you have, as of a month ago, well, clearly from the previous post, it's pretty clear that this guy, Jean-Louis van der Wald, who seems to have multiple names, though they're similar, is the CEO of Tether and the CEO of Bitfinex, though Reeve Collins still lists himself as the CEO of Tether on his Twitter page. And the funny part is, this is why there is this troll comment, is that the CEO of Bitfinex has all these positive things to say as a partner of Tether on Tether's website, yet he seems to also be the CEO of Tether.
Yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things here, and I'm very wary of what's going on.
Right. So here's the thing, right? This has nothing to do with, I don't know if it's Mt. Gox 2.0. I don't know if it's WillyBot. I don't know if they're running a fractional reserve. And I made it clear that I don't know I don't know what's going on under the hood. I would love to know, though I would love for the community to know. I don't really need to know, because if the community knows, then I wouldn't be bothered. My problem with Tether is deeper than that. My problem with Tether is I assume that every single dollar of Tether is actually sitting at some bank. And I have a problem with this because it creates systemic risk for the whole ecosystem. Because if Tether tokens themselves are deemed to be some kind of an illicit product, then all of the underlying of that token can be confiscated. And I'm not a lawyer, but this is my fear. So when people say you're spreading FUD, I agree with them. I have fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Tether. That's what FUD is. If you feel those things about a product, that's exactly what you're doing.
Indeed, it's a little bit troubling. Well, I think hopefully Bitfinex will show up on my show later today. We may get an interview with Voice Scrambler and all that stuff. All right, final story that I wanted to share. We messed up. an apology from Ramit. If you remember, I challenged him to a bet based on this email that he wrote me. It says, when it comes to investing, people have been always stupid, and if you don't know what Bitcoin is, he basically trashed Bitcoin. And I challenged him to a bet. He comes back about a week later, and he's basically saying, okay, like I screwed up. I don't feel that way about Bitcoin, and I'm critical, but this was just like a really trollish email. I'm really, really sorry is basically what he's saying. And it's like, I'm sorry for yesterday's email. I take responsibility for it. In 13 years, this is the second apology note I've written. The email didn't reflect my views or our values as a company. We're making internal changes to ensure that all of our material reflects our values. I know you have a lot of choices and you read a lot of our material because you want to know surprising, counterintuitive, blah, blah, blah. I will say, though, this is the second time I've received such an email from Ramit, so I will probably point out the other one that I received. I'll have to go through my email archives to say something, but I guess we have some clout tone. What do you think about this apology from Ramit?
I'm not. Can you just remind me and the viewers who Ramit is?
Yeah, he's a guy that runs IWillTeachYouToBeRich.com. I got some email from him, basically with him trashing Bitcoin. So I called him out on it, and I challenged him to a $10,000 bet that said Bitcoin will beat whatever investment you think is going to beat it. And he came back with this apology. So he replied to me personally about 10 minutes ago. I didn't originally have that in my list of things to talk about today, but since it was pretty relevant and he did it recently, I thought it would be good for the show. But what do you think, Tone?
I think anyone that has a website that says "I will teach you to be rich" is someone to probably stay away from. I find that stuff really, really bad. Look, I teach people how to trade and how to invest their own money and how to try to make better decisions for themselves. I don't promise anyone that they're going to be rich.
Yeah,
it's like basically promising someone that they'll win the Indy 500 by teaching them how to drive a car. Like it's bad. I don't like it.
I do have to defend Ramit just a little bit here. I do appreciate like his marketing stuff. Like he knows how to do that stuff. So that's why I read his stuff. But as far as his investment advice and sort of trashing on Bitcoin or whatever, I don't think he knows what the hell he's talking about. Anyway, so Tone, do you want to go through anything on price? I might have to adjust your window just a little bit, but let me see if I can do that. Give me 1 second so I can do a screen capture properly. And all right, there we go. And all right, so if you would like to.
Sure, let's take a look. I can't wait to rewatch this and see how it all came out. I mean, right? Clearly we'll need to work with the volume and the microphones and stuff and get that evened out.
Yeah, I doubled my mic volume. Hopefully that's coming through a little bit better.
I moved my mic way further away from my face.
I don't know if it'll help, but we'll see.
And I'm trying not to scream. So hopefully, anyway, we'll test it out, guys. It's a work in progress. So before I jump to the price, I just wanted to once again point out the contract specifications of the Bitcoin futures contract, which are now available. I actually like it. They seem to keep leverage to a minimum. The Bitcoin futures from the CME are a lot less leveraged than their gold, their oil, and their S&P futures. It looks like it's one contract is worth 5 Bitcoins. The price fluctuations of that contract are going to be $5. So for every $5 move in the futures contract, your position in your in your trading account moves up and down $25 per contract, okay, because one contract is 5 Bitcoin. Now, the question is, how much money in escrow are they going to request, right? Because 5 Bitcoins right now is worth $40,000, right? Let's say $8,000 a Bitcoin, 5 Bitcoin is 40 grand. So I would think that they're going to apply their standard numbers, which is approximately $5,000 to have in escrow during the day, and $10,000 to have an escrow overnight and during closures and weekends. That's just my guesses, right? I haven't seen those numbers yet. So here's how that would work. You have once you buy a futures contract on Bitcoin, you are in control of 5 Bitcoins. They will take $5,000, they will put it aside. And then at the end of the day at 5 p.m. Eastern time, what they will do is they will check how much the price of that future has moved. Let's say the price of that future, because it can only move in $5 increments. Let's say it moved from $8,000 per Bitcoin. It moved to, let's say, $8,050. So that means for every $5 is 25. So that's $250. So either $250 will be added to your brokerage account, or $50 will be taken away from your brokerage account as the margin gets reset. The margin would reset to 10,000 because the market is closed, and it would go to 5,000 early in the morning. So that money will just not be usable, and it will be sitting in like a segregated folder in your account. So that's kind of how it works. Does that make sense, Jimmy? Because I tried to explain this on live air last night, and I was like stumbling words.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it sounds like you're getting a lot of leverage, and that's kind of what these.
I wouldn't say a lot of leverage. I mean, it's 5 Bitcoins per contract with 5, so you'll probably get between 5 and 8 to 1.
Yeah, that seems like a lot to me, but maybe in the
Bitfinex
market, that's not that bad.
Bitfinex has 100 to 1.
That's insane.
I agree, but
even 5 to 1 seems like a lot to me. Like $100 move is 500. It's just, I don't know. It's but I mean, I guess this sort of thing is normal in derivatives markets.
Right. Well, okay. So you got to keep in mind, right? Like the fact that the unit, right? You have 5 units. But it also depends how much money they're going to request to put on margin, right? So that's the actual leverage. The actual leverage is how much margin you have to put up during open hours trading and during closing hours, okay? That's the actual trading. The fact that there are 5 Bitcoins in a contract and the fact that it's trading at $5 increments, that could have been anything, right? Like like for example, if there were 10 Bitcoins in a contract, but the margin that you need to put up is double what I'm expecting, then it's the same, right? Then it's still going to be 5 or 8 to 1, right? So, and also remember, if the price of Bitcoin, let's say, doubles, but your margin remains the same, your leverage has now doubled, right? Mm-hmm. So the math that I just did was based on 1 Bitcoin being $8,000. So the value of the contract with 5 Bitcoins in it is $40K if they only require $5,000 on margin. If the price of Bitcoin doubles to $16,000 each, now 5 Bitcoin is $80,000 worth of value. But if the CME is still only requiring $5,000 in escrow, now you have double the leverage. So if the price of Bitcoin does double or triple, the CME will either need to lower the amount of Bitcoin in a contract, or they would have to raise your margin requirements. Otherwise, they're raising the leverage you're allowed to use. But But then again, if as the reason why S&P 500 and oil and gold are so highly leveraged is because there's lots of liquidity in that market. So if the price of Bitcoin doubles, but the liquidity triples, then it's probably okay to go to 20x leverage on the CME because there's a lot of liquidity and your contracts will be sold in case of a big move against you. You know, does that make sense?
They're not gonna get like destroyed like some people did on GDAX a while back.
Right. See, the problem happens is if you can't meet your margin call, your contracts need to get immediately sold. As long as there's a buyer for your contracts, there's no problem. The problem happens is when your contracts need to be immediately sold and there's no buyer, then the CME takes a hit. Like they have to liquidate your contracts, but there's no buyer waiting in place. So and if the price keeps going against you, then it's harder for them to find a buyer. Whatever that difference is, the CME is responsible for as the custodian. And they're basically, I mean, they're supposed to screen their people to make sure that they can meet margin requirements. If not, they have to immediately resell the contract. In gold and oil, there's plenty of people waiting to buy those contracts. Though the gold bucks are upset because someone can go and sell 8,000 contracts worth of gold, there aren't any buyers, and the price just crashes, and then somebody picks it up on the cheap, and people get burned, right? But in this case, like if the buyers dry up and the CME has to cover the difference, there's an insurance pool, and this brings us to the CNBC thing. I think I retweeted it this morning, which is this is the CEO of Interactive Brokers, which is my broker. So this is where I'm going to be trading my futures. And it's kind of good that the CEO is, a little, questioning the idea a little bit, because he's kind of right. So if the CME has to cover, somebody that defaulted on their margin, where's that money coming from? Now, the CME has an insurance, like an insurance pool, right? Because the CME does make money, they have an insurance pool. Now, what he's basically asking for is how segregated is this insurance pool, and making sure that this insurance pool isn't like, for example, corn and wheat and other commodities. Is it the same insurance pool, right? Because if let's say Bitcoin triples overnight while the CME is closed, the CME kind of gets screwed, and they have to cover some of those differences. Are they going to draw money from insurances from other commodities, or will Bitcoin have a segregated pool? The other issue that he has is, it feels like I'm talking forever, but these are important issues. The other issue that he has is this, right? There is a limit of 20% in a price move, and then they shut it down.
That's not very much, at least in Bitcoin.
Well, 20% in a day is a lot, even in Bitcoin, right? So that means that in one day, right now, Bitcoin would have to go up like $2,500 or more.
I think it went down 20% recently. No, like when it went down to 5,500, that was about 20%. No.
In one trading day for the CME?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it was within one. Yeah.
Right. But it can, but it's 20%, right? So when Bitcoin is 10,000, it would be, 20% is less than that. Sorry, my on-air math is wrong. So 20% when Bitcoin is 10K is $2,000, right? So will Bitcoin move $2,000 in a day when it's 10,000? It's possible, very possible, right? So the problem that the CEO of Interactive Brokers has is, what if Bitcoin moves 30% in a day? That means that they're going to cut off trading after 20%, but the underlying price moved 30%, right? So the following day, it literally needs to catch up. And then what if it takes like a week to catch up, right? Because the Bitcoin continues to go up and up and up. And then he's saying that shorts would now, that trading would kind of stop, right? Because the price of the contract won't be able to keep up with the rise in Bitcoin. So this guy is worried, what if Bitcoin goes up, like triples in price in a matter of days? The CME, it'll take based on CME's 20% a day limit, it's going to take them like 2 weeks to catch up. And during that time, there could be major systemic risk to the CME itself.
I see. That makes sense. All right. Any
Oh, price. That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Any thoughts on price there, Tone?
Not really. We're going up. Look, I don't know, man. It's starting to feel like 2013 again. It really, really is. It makes me a little nervous, but my numbers say that we're bullish. Am I still screen sharing?
Yeah,
There I am.
yeah.
I saw you there for a second. And so my numbers are still bullish. Another week has just started. I'm looking for this week to give us a 9 next week at the end of the month. And let's see what happens. There could be another pullback, but hey, if we reach $10,000 at current pace by end of the month, I mean, we'll be due for another pullback. If there is another pullback, what's the most likelihood drop? Well, probably back to 8,000 where we stalled the first time. And if we break below 8,000 on this next pullback, then it's back to 5,000 that we never properly tested. That's the weekly chart. The daily chart is going to give us a 9 in 2 days. So maybe it'll take 1 to 4 days off and then go higher. I was expecting it to consolidate a little bit, but it seems to just, the bull seems to keep going. The 4-hour chart, again, in about 3 more candles, it might take a little bit of a breather and then go higher again. That's pretty much it. I mean, we're on a bull run. I mean, there's not a single, right now, there isn't a single thing I can point to that that gives me pause that we're not going to go higher. Let's put it that way. So everything is bullish, but let me just throw this on here. Everything is bullish to me right now. I mean, we just pulled back, like $50, but everything is bullish. This little target I drew yesterday on my live chat, we almost met at 8,300. This is a 5. So again, the hourly is telling me 4 more hours of upside. The 4 hours is telling me, 12 to 16 more hours of upside. The daily is telling me 2 more days of upside, and the weekly saying this week and next week. Like everything is bullish right now.
That's so crazy. We're doing very well. So
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of been crazy. Sorry for the volume issues for everybody. Hopefully we
working on it.
Yeah, we get some of that fixed. I did change my microphone settings, and hopefully we get everything done. But anyway, any final words for today, Tone?
No, that's pretty much it. I saw somebody asked the question, Elijah, how many of these shirts I have? I have 3 or 4 shirts. They're kind of like all over the place. So there's always laundry being done. So one is always available. Okay, good stuff. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Now we have to go and shut down the stream. So I will shut it down right now. Wait, let me put the camera back on me so you don't see what I'm doing. All right, and Tone, you're going to need to do the same. Yep. 3, 2, 1.